Well, I got all that crap to clean up, and I'm actually in the middle of an engine build, cleaning a bunch of parts, so that I'll do later today. Because when the weather's like this, working outside on something like this would be ideal, right? I really don't have the money to do the whole trailer build. Um, I've got to spend a couple $1,000s on all the stuff, or not that much. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's gonna, I've got $100 and just flipping the axles. We can take a look at the brakes and see what's going on there. Sorry, the leaf blower in the background. Hopefully it's not too bad. You guys didn't know, I did get a title for that thing too, so that was kind of cool for $500. Can't go wrong there. Move the truck up a little bit here, and then I don't know what it matters if there's even a number on this thing. I probably will not use the title because I don't know. It's just like I'm going to be repurposing it anyway, and that title's for like a RV trailer, and the registration here where I live, way more money for that. So anyway, what I was thinking I could do while the weather's good, and maybe we'll stack up some footage, is lop off all these things here. And I'm just going to use the plasma cutter. This is the best arc. This is probably one of the cheapest good plasma cutters you can get. It's got the Pilot Arc technology. Really, if you want one of these kind of plasma cutters, it's a little bit more money to get a Pilot Arc. They have the one that's like almost like a striking arc. You got to touch the metal and then use it. This one here, it'll blow right through rust real easy and stuff like that, where the other ones might not. So one of these, anything with the Pilot Arc, if you don't want to buy the best arc, this one here is probably the best price. I'll put a link in the description on Amazon. It's so cheap. It's totally worth having. So I'm going to put it on, on 220. Most of these cheaper plasma cutters, if you get one of these, you really are going to want to run it on 220. 110 they kind of work, but not really. It'll be skippy, and you'll have to come back and cut stuff off, and it's just a pain in the butt. It's easier if you put it on 220. They just work like gold, even the cheap ones usually. So spend a little bit more money. This one here is a good deal, so if you want to see one that's a good deal, there's videos. I've got reviews on it. So anyway, talk to you guys a little later. Right, so we got our axle flip kit on here for 2 3/8 axles. So let's take these off and flip them over and put them on the bottom, see how much higher it ends up. Really curious to see how much higher it is. Trying to get the frame close to the top of the tire, and then we'll go from there. We'll see what happens. I know a lot of people think this thing weighs a lot more than it does. It weighs 4,000 pounds without me in it. Total gross vehicle weight loaded maximum of 4,500 pounds. 2070 kilograms. That's what that is. That's gross vehicle weight. Tank full of gas, 2 people in it. That's how much it can weigh, and it doesn't carry very much. The plan is to get that thing on here. The problem is, again, there's low ground clearance. I've got problem with these things. The outriggers, the frame hits the tires. It has to be higher. So first step is to get rid of those things. That took like 30 minutes with the plasma cutter. I'll get a grinder out and knock off all this crap, clean it up a little bit. Maybe we'll do that off camera. But this frame currently was rated for 7,000 pounds or 7,500 pounds. So if we have that thing on here and plus the weight of the frame, and of course we're going to add to it, right? We will be under 7,500 pounds max. I'll weigh it after I put it on here and everything. I'll weigh the trailer once I get the stuff I wanted added on here. But the whole thing is not to do overkill, but to just do what we need. That's the difficult part about this. A lot of guys go totally overkill. I watch guys put on tons of weight on one of these, and when you put too much weight on the trailer, then they carry. I've seen guys carrying, I don't know, more than the weight that the trailer's rated at, because they put all this frame on there, but the axles are only rated at 3,500 pounds each. So I don't know. I've seen all kinds of weird stuff on YouTube and getting a lot of weird comments. But anyway, I'm just going to start with this. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to flip the axles. I've got the stuff coming for that. We'll include that probably in this video. I'll flip the axles, and then we'll see how much frame we need to add to this. So if we just take the same width frame, the same 2-inch wide, and I put another piece on top of that, and I weld it, stitch it along, that frame's going to be part of this frame. Where it attaches down here, it's still going to, this is still rated at, this frame was rated at 7,500 pounds. So this shouldn't be a problem here where this connects. Shouldn't need any extra strength there. But if I add it to here, being that we're going to have a different type of weight. A house is one big unit that's pretty evenly weighted. A vehicle has 4 weight points, 1,000 pounds each. 1, 2, 3, 4, where you're carrying it. Getting it up the ramp doesn't need to be nearly as strong. It needs to be strong because you have to, want the frame to taco while you're trying to take it up, right? Doesn't need to be nearly as strong as where it's driving down the road. When you're driving down the road, bouncing, and that 1,000 pounds per axle becomes 4,000 pounds or whatever per axle, right? As it's bouncing. So those are, the weight rating, carrying weight of these axles is 3,500 pounds each. These axles are actually will hold more than that because they're rated at 3,500 pounds carrying, and when they're bouncing, it's going to be a lot more than that, right? Same thing with the 4 points. But the main thing is the 4 points hold, and I've only got 4,000 pounds on there, and let's say I got 2,000 pounds of trailer, okay? Then I'm still under 7,500 pounds, which is what these axles are rated at. That's the goal. Are we going to make it? I don't know. Maybe we'll have to add a third axle. I don't know. Another guy says I'm going to have to add 3 axles, but that thing right there, if I had a 20-foot car hauler that would haul that thing, which it won't, a regular 20-foot car hauler, I could go to U-Haul, I could go anywhere. See, the reason why I have to make this trailer is I cannot go to a place and rent one for this. And the only thing that I can rent for this is a D-ring hookup, you know, 12,000 pound trailer deck over, which is way overkill for the weight of this truck. All right, and it'll cost me a fortune to rent one because of the width and the height here. And even on one of those deck over trailers that's rated for a tractor, the ramps are too steep, and I'm going to high center trying to get it on and off. So that's why I'm trying to make a trailer for this thing, because there's only one way to do it. You know, I've already looked into all this stuff, guys. It's, you know, people are like, oh, sell some more cars, or, you know, I don't make anything selling Volkswagens. If I fix them up and sell them, build them, you know, it's actually cheaper for me to do this and make videos on this, even though you guys may not want to see it. Some guys do. You know, there's a big trailer community out there. It's just not my normal audience. So yeah, there's that. But anyway, it's just cheaper for me to make it. It makes more sense. All right, so I just want to make everybody clear in this video. That's what we're doing. That's the reason why. I need a high trailer. I need to go the frame over the tires so that I can get something up on here. I need to be long so I can take it up gradually and get it up here. And I think we can do that with what we have here. I wouldn't have bought it if I didn't think I could. So I think once I get the axles flipped, then I'll know. You know, I was watching another video. I finally got a video that I could see that a guy flipped the axles, what I needed to do. And there's a little kit you buy. We'll be showing it here in the next portion of the video. Little kit you buy, you put on, pull off the U-bolts, which are kind of pretty rusty anyway, and I'd rather have new ones. So that's when you want to carry weight. Then the axle will be underneath there. It's a little sturdier position. And the axle's underneath, and it'll give me. I've seen. It looked like the guy had a solid 6 inches of ride height by doing that. So then we may only need a 2x4 added to the top of this, which is a little cheaper steel. And then what I may do, because if I'm going to go 2x4, I may go even thicker steel, so that when we're welding onto that, I'm not going to have issues with my welds breaking, because I've got thin steel and thick steel. Okay, those are all things to think about, guys. Those are stuff that we're going to address. I'm not an engineer, but I'm pretty smart. I'm not going to do something that's not going to work. You know, you guys will see. And then, you know, you can learn, and I'm not teaching, I'm not telling you guys to do what I'm doing. Nobody's going to be doing this. Nobody's going to make a trailer like this. This is a one-off. You know, this is something that's necessary to carry that thing. And then the other dual purpose will be, in the future, you know, I may end up going a long distance and getting 2 rusty Volkswagen projects. Okay, they're not going to be heavy because they're so rusty, and they don't have engines in them. So there might be 4,000 pounds from the front to the rear. Okay, same way, but there's not going to be a lot of weight all in one place if I put it in the back. And I'll put the weighted part, of course. Whenever you load a trailer, you want your weight over the axles, a little to the front. So you have to calculate that out when you're putting the stuff on, because you want more tongue weight than in the back. If you got weight in the back, you've seen those trailers swaying like this. That's why. Weight in the back of the trailer is no good. So adding a lot of steel to the back is not going to be smart. Adding steel to the front, between the truck and the trailer, not a bad idea, but trying to over engineer the back. I'm not going to add to it, believe me, I'm going to add, but I'm not going to over engineer the rear part of this thing. So I might be using thinner steel back here to weld to, but we'll figure that out as we go. Okay, first thing is get it up to height. Let's do that. All right, so anyway, I just pulled these off. You know, it's going to be kind of hard to handle these things once I get them off because they're going to want to flip over, right? But I got to weld these brackets on. I'll show you. A guy who didn't buy this trailer said that the axle was bent. What a fool. How it's bent over like that. That's the way they're supposed to be, because as the tires build weight, it makes the axle go down in the middle. So that's actually a newer axle in the front than in the back. So that's why it's less bent, I mean more bent. It's newer. So anyway, these things go on here like this, and it's got to be pretty even. Okay, it's not rocket science. Okay, it's just got to be pretty even. So if you measure from here to the here and it's even, then what you do is weld this on. Okay, some of the kits have bolts that go on here. For this heavy of an axle, I definitely would not bolt them on. I would want them welded, really well welded, because you know that's a lot of weight to have. You know, this is a centering pin that goes on here. It goes on the other side. There's a bolt down here, right here, that goes in that hole. Okay, so it keeps the axle from going back and forth. So if you can see, I mean, if you move it a couple degrees, you know, if you're a little tiny bit off, it's not going to make that much difference. Okay, but you want to get it pretty close. So I'm going to do that. Weld that on. I'll just, you know, and it'll stay in place a lot easier here. So I'm just going to grind it down, clean it up. Like so. Just a little clean there. I'll set this guy on here. Measure my distance. Make sure it's square with what's there. Tennessee. Just get it really nice and close. Get it where I want it. Then I'll just give it a burn. Good burn. No, not Bernie Sanders. Burn. Weld. All right. All right, so now I got to get these off of here. I guess that's how you do it. And then, yeah, they're kind of go. We're not flipping them like that because you can't flip these axles because the bow needs to be up. So we're putting those perches underneath here. So anyway, guess we'll pull the spring down, set that on there, and see how that goes, right? Right, the old saying, fingers and toes. Ah, that was easy. I thought it was going to come crashing down. Guys didn't get that lucky. Second verse, same as the first. Man, I left my punch on the other side of the... It's rusty. Well, I just wanted to put one wheel on here so I can see. Yeah, not any weight on it. It's level with the frame. I don't know how much more to put it up in the air. Maybe add an inch or two. Or maybe 2 inches, I guess. I don't know. I'll think about it for a little bit. I'll let you guys comment on what you think. I mean, kind of want a little stronger frame. It's not that thick, but again, it's rated for these axles, so it should be strong enough if I add some stuff to it, get it so it takes the weight evenly. That's the key. Okay, well, get the other one done. It's interesting to see that much. I didn't think it was going to do that much. Because if you add, what you got to do is you got to add the space of this thing and then the space of that thing on the top. So on the top, so the center of the axle to here, the center axle to there, 5 inches, I guess. Probably it's 2 3/8, so it's almost 5 inches. So yeah, that's what it raised it. I don't know, something like that. Maybe it's 4.5 or something. But if it raises it that much, then I only got to put, I think a 2x on here would be more than enough. I don't know. 2x2, you know, 2x2 to get high enough. Should be fine. Talk to you guys later. See? Same over here. Same over there. Centered. Yeah, I don't know if it's a half a degree off. I don't really think it's going to make much difference, but try and get it as close as I can. All right, so I'm just going to show you guys. There's no noise there. This one's a little loose though. So I was going to check the wheel bearings. These are old axles, obviously. These ones, I think, they've definitely been replaced. I mean, there's new wires. I think the whole backing plate's new. But the weird thing is, I don't know that they cut that off. It's kind of strange. I don't know. Maybe it's just that way. I don't know. So I got a battery here, and we'll just check the brakes, see if they work. All right, let's try it. See if I can do this with one hand. It's gonna be odd. Yep, they work. There's resistance there. I don't know how strong this battery might be kind of dead, but I feel them. They're working. Definitely want to take it apart and look at the condition and re-grease the wheel bearings. So we'll do that. I don't know if I'll do that right now. I don't know. May kind of want to just see the height first. Then I'll get back into that. Well, I don't know. Kind of need to know if the drums are any good in the back. I don't see, you know, there's this issue right here. A little bit of wiggle in there, but I don't feel any roughness, like the wheel bearings are really bad or anything, but like they probably haven't been greased. Let's check the back axle. This one will be easier for you guys to see. Maybe I'll strip the wires. Maybe I can do it. Okay. Yep, they work. If you didn't notice that, as soon as I touched it on there, it stopped the wheel. All right, so that side should work too. The other side should work. These ones are wired together. It goes through the tube over the other side. You can see there's a grommet down there. And it goes inside the tube to the other side. So trailer bikes work. Condition of them I need to know. And then the wheel bearings. I don't know if I got enough time right now. The sun's going to be on me. I'm trying to stay out of the sun. So I really want to see what the height of the frame is. Remember, one of the things we don't want to do is we don't want to be too high. We don't want to be too high off the ground. So anyway, figure this out. I'll get back into it. All right, as I expected, that these were going to be dry. The wheel bearings are dry, but they're not shot. They're not pitted. They're not blue. They're just dry. The drums, they'll work. But look at that. I mean, just touching the rivets. Not too bad, but those have got to be addressed. So, you know, I don't know, guys. I'm thinking maybe I'll just get a whole new backing plate. These are old. I don't know. I mean, it would probably be okay if I just change the shoes. I'll make a decision on that. I mean, wheel bearing looks good. Take the inner one out, look at it, I guess. But I don't know if I want to disassemble all this right now. I don't know what those ones look like at all. I'm going to assume that the other side probably looks just like this one. Could be worse, but am I going to change the drum? Probably not. I'm probably just going to shoe it up and go with that. You know, a friend of mine said, "Oh yeah, you can use my trailer and go take that up north." And he has a 32 foot, and he goes, "Well, the trailer brakes don't work." And I'm like, I am not driving up mountains. You know, there's some steep grades here between here and Northern California. Going downhill with no trailer brakes, that's just not smart. You know, he goes, "Well, you don't need them." Okay, right. No, you need trailer brakes, okay? Especially when you got 4,000 pounds you're carrying, and you got another 2,000, 3,000 pound trailer probably. So 7,000 pounds or more. Probably his trailer's probably even heavier than that. And then no trailer brakes. I mean, that's a no-brainer to me. There's no chance of me doing that. Alright, so I just decided to repack the wheel bearings. Unfortunately, I didn't film it for you guys because it's kind of grease all over your hands and it's kind of hard to start and stop the camera. But to get... Let's see, am I getting this in? Yeah, I can do it. Okay. To get these seals out, normally what I do is most vehicles I'll put the nut back on, okay, and then with the nut on, it usually will fit through the race on the outer race, and then you can just pull on it. And I kind of hold it down and pull on it, and it pulls these off without damaging them. That's 90% of the time. But you know, most of the time, if you use this tool right here, you're going to ruin the seal. You're going to try and go in here and then pry it up. You're going to ruin that seal. So I've had better luck. I don't know. It's just the way that I've done it. And so this time what I did is I found a pipe that I could put through there, put through here from the other side, and then knock it out by using the bearing. And if I use the bearing, it kind of pushes against it evenly. So that's how I've done it for years. And you know, 1 out of 100, 1 out of 2 or 300 maybe, I'll damage it taking it out, but I found that to be the best way. And then usually I'll use my seal tool to put these in. Every once in a while I'll get lucky and do them that way. So anyway, but I packed the wheel bearings. I went ahead and flipped the shoes on this one, and I was just debating, you know, I could get the whole backing plate for just a little bit more money with all new stuff on it, but then that's another day or two waiting with this trailer in the way. So I just went to the local place and I'm ordered some shoes. They'll be here, you know, I can go pick them up in a very short period of time. So I'm just gonna do that. I'm gonna go ahead and put this wheel back on, and I'll do the other side, get it all ready. I'll flip the shoes on that side. Don't think I need to do anything else because the actuator works on from the middle. It's a little square thing that turns, and so that should be fine as far as that goes. And these are not, you know, it'd be nice if I would have just paid the money and buy all new stuff, but I could have got, you know, self-adjusting shoes, but these ones are not. So I'm just going to adjust them up and they'll be fine, you know. For I don't plan on using this thing. If I was using this thing all the time, like if I was using this trailer like every day, I would get the self-adjusting shoes. Okay, it just would be worth it. But since I'm not going to use it very often, I'm just going to go with the ones that don't self-adjust, because like I said, I'm probably maybe use it once or twice, 3 times a year. So it's not really worth me putting, you know, all that money in it and or time. It's mostly just ordering the stuff and waiting, and a little bit more money on something that I'm not going to, it's just not going to get me that much out of it. So anyway, that's how I do these. And then after I get done with that, then I'll just go ahead and wipe the seals down, pull off all that excess grease, and then just install it. Put it up on there, install it, put a new car key in. Done. Very easy. I've done hundreds of these shoes. And if you don't have one of these, this is a very nice tool to have. This is one from Mac, pretty old. I don't even know if they make them anymore, but you use these to put the springs on, and then you have these nice. I had this whole setup for doing brakes years ago. I had this thing, pull the cap off, and then you use a little hammer in to put it back on. Pretty cool. It's another Mac tool from years ago. These are like 40 years old. And then you got this thing here for taking the springs off. Again, I don't even know if they make them anymore, because most cars are disc brakes. And I you know, these, I did hundreds of these. I mean, this replicates, I think General Motors had these same springs, and same with, I think, American Motors. Well, I think American Motors used Ford. They had a cable. And then the cable thing is when you have the disc, when you have the self-adjusting brakes. It has a little cable that goes from here and goes around a little half moon thing that goes around this thing. And then it goes and hooks on the adjuster, and as every time you step on the brakes or you use the brakes, if it reaches a certain point, it'll pull that little thing up when the brakes are applied to adjust them. So that's how the self-adjuster works. It's pretty simple. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get the rest of this buttoned up, and we'll check it out a little bit later. All right, so I was going to just put shoes on, and I went to buy a set of brake shoes, and all they had was, I thought, well, I took it all apart. I had it sitting here, and I thought, well, I'll just take it apart while I got it here, just throw some new shoes on. One of the shoes had one of the rivets was just barely touching. It wasn't enough to even wear the drum. And so I called O'Reilly Auto Parts and I said, listen, how much? A set of brake shoes are like 45 bucks. I'm like, well, that's a lot for brake shoes. Okay, so I checked with Trailer Supply, same prices, it's the same. So I went down to go pick them up after I ordered them, and it was one wheel for $45. 2 brake shoes, just 2, not 4, not for both sides, just one wheel. So it was 90 bucks, and I was like, you know what, keep them. So I ordered these, and I had to pay for them, guys. A lot of people say, you know, that, you know, I'm getting stuff for free. You know, some of the stuff I do, these, my rep for them, she was on vacation or whatever, and I needed these, so of course, who do I go to? Because their prices are amazing. You know, I don't recommend their stuff because I get commissions on it. That's so minor, okay? It's because it's a damn good deal. Check these out. So I didn't know this. I got these to the right ones. In addition to them being the whole assembly for $53 for 2 wheels. See, there's 2. Brand new electric brake setup, brand new shoes, brand new springs, everything, okay? They're also self-adjusting. So my other one in the front, I almost wish I would have ordered 2 of them, but it'll be fine for now. The other set in the front of this trailer is brand new, so it's no big deal. I'll just go with it for now. But next time I take this apart, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to order another set of these and just change them to a self-adjusting. Because look, see the cable? How you know? This is the adjustment cable. That's adjusted. It just moved up another click. So that's a self-adjusting setup for $53 for both wheels. Half of what it was for just the brake shoes at a regular parts store. Ridiculous. I'll put these on. All right, well, she's all back together again. I did not plan on doing the brakes right now. I just sort of snafu'd into it because I was just going to throw some shoes on there. Honestly, if you're going to take one of these trailers apart and you're going to do anything like re-grease the wheel bearings, or you know what, just order a set of those brake shoes with the brake drum in advance, and just either, you know, so that you have them there, because it does take a couple days and you don't want to have the trailer, you know, apart for that long. A couple things to know, I mean, just so you guys know that if you're messing with trailers, I believe it's always this way, and there's some guys I watched a bunch of different videos on this, and guys are like, well, I don't know if these axles are 5,200 or, you know, 6,000 or 3,500. Typically 5 bolt 3,500, 6 bolt 5,200, 8 bolt, I believe it's 7,000. That's what they have. And so there's other, I think it's 7,000. The other one, I don't know, maybe it's 7,200. I can't remember what it is, but they're like all the same. So they usually have all the same shoe sizes, and you know, they're all pretty universal. Like my other one has 5,200 pound axles, and it has 6 bolts on there on my other trailer, and the brakes all have a 5 bolt pattern that they just are interchanged. So it should be the correct ones for all of them on electric brakes. My other one has surge brakes, which are totally different. That's all hydraulic, and surge brakes are the same. They're all the same for all the surge brakes, and then there's ones with backup and ones without backup, and always buy the ones that have the backing, that have free backing. If you have the other, if you have a surge trailer which has that whole thing here with the master cylinder, buy the brake shoe sets like I just bought, but get the ones with free backing, because then you don't have to get out and change that little pin and all that. You can just back up. It won't lock the brakes up and get you all stuck when you're at an intersection or something trying to make a U-turn. You don't make it. Yeah, you don't want that problem, believe me. I got free backing in all mine, so on those. So I do know a little bit about trailers. I never really built one or anything. So what I did is I've watched several videos on guys building trailers, okay, and guys that remodel car haulers. There's a guy that's done like 5 or 10 remodels where he's taking them apart. You know, they have wood on them and everything. And I'm looking at the structure at all of them, and a lot of them have really thin crossbar structure, kind of like these here, okay, but I personally don't trust those. I would want something stronger than that, but that's what I'm saying. So a lot of guys will take this exact same trailer and just cover it in wood, and It depends on what you're putting on it. I mean, if you're just putting household items that aren't very heavy, you're going to carry 1,000 pounds, maybe that's okay. But I'm going to carry, you know, a vehicle over these two axles. It's not going to be way up in the front. If I do put one up here, it'll be a rusty project thing that is going to weigh quite a bit less than it normally would have. So maybe let's say 2,000 pounds. And if I balance it the back end, I put 2,000 pounds back there. Even if I put wood on here, I could probably even make that work. It's less than I would want. I would want more than that. So here's what I'm thinking, and you guys can comment about this. You know, a friend of mine came over and he says, "Hey, yeah, I would go at least 2x3 on the top, and then 2x3 cross." I really don't think that's necessary. I think 2x2. If I add a 2x2 on here on the top, all right. And one of the ideas that he had, which is super cool, really smart there, is to, and he said that he worked in a trailer place, so he saw some of the stuff done. One of the things they do is they jack up the back of the trailer and give it as much of this as they can, okay? And they would take the beams as they were, you know, like I could take this here and use the axles as weight, right? And just jack this back up as high as I can, leave it on the tongue, leave it on the truck, okay? And get this up as high as I can and get it to get shaped a little bit like this. And then, so get it as much as I can, because if you look at bridges are always arced like that. So a bridge is always arced like this. And why do they do that? The little tiny bit of arc in all of them makes them so much stronger. Same thing if we jack this back up as high as I can. And what he said they do is they'll, you know, on an I-beam, they'll take and they'll run a bead of weld all the way down that while that thing's sprung like that. And that weld, just putting that weld on there while it's sprung, will kind of give it a little bit of an arc. So when they put the weight on it, it handles it a lot better. So that was a good idea. So let's say I jack this thing up, right? And if I added 2x2 to here, 2x2, because I don't want it too high. That's one of the things. I don't want to make it too high. He said, well, you could put shorter shackles on here. Well, that's true. I could do that. That's more work, more time. So if I go 2x2 here and I jack it up, okay, and I arc it that way and I clamp it in the middle, and then I weld it while it's in that arc, and then weld it all the way down. Either I could weld it all the way down both sides. I mean, I could make that thing like part of this beam, okay? So now I've got a 2x8 frame. Even if it's not that thick, that is super strong. That's 2x8. I was looking at trailers, okay? Most of them that have these axles, the ones that have the 3,500 pound axles, okay, they do not have very strong cross members here. They do have more of them than this. The ones I went down and I measured them, they were 26 inches on center. Okay. So what I was thinking about doing is adding, so going right here, this is 24 inches on center. This is 24 inches on center, 24 inches, 24 inches, 24 inches, 24 inches, and it gets kind of weird back there, but I just throw another one in. But it's 24 inches between these ones, the big sections. If I get, it's 48 right now, but if I put an extra one between these two, and then I took another 2x2 and crossed it across here, and then pushed it back just a little bit, right, and I welded along this edge, you know, I could stitch it along there like 2 inches or whatever across there and tie it into this beam, which these aren't terribly strong, but if I tie it into that, it's going to be super strong. Okay, so I tie it into there and I put a 2x2 across here, put one, add one to the top of that, same thing, either weld it all the way along, stitch it, share your thoughts, what you think on that. And I have 20 feet right here. All the way along here. 20 feet is to right here. 20 feet. Okay. Then whatever I do back there, I'm not gonna even think about right now. Well, I'm definitely gonna do something, but I don't know. Maybe just continue the same thing. Now, if I've got all that done and then I put on outriggers, I go out. So I was thinking, okay, that's 5 feet from here to there. Okay, 5 feet. This section piece is 5 feet. So what I could do is put in another, I think it's 13 inches here. Okay, so I'd add 2 inches to that, tie into that, go out here to another 2 inches. I was thinking about just setting them on top, but I think it'd be better if I did it, you know, to not get as much height. Do it, you know, weld them, cut them and weld them in. So I cut and weld pieces every 24 inches along here. I'd kind of do one here, maybe one in the middle, okay, and one here, so it would be a little bit off of that 24 inches. But I add them on here, and then on these I put in a thicker. On the outer one, I would go to, I think, 12 gauge and put a rail that goes all the way along, ties all those ones in together. It comes outside the tire right here, goes all the way along, 20-foot rail to here. Okay, and on that rail, I would put, and I might actually put additional ones here because, you know, I'm going to be tying down from out here. So that's why I was thinking maybe I'll put, you know, another few more in there where I'm going to be tying down the most. So, and have that nice thick rail along here. That's also going to add to the longitudinal strength. Okay. But if you look at how the car haulers are made, is what they do is they go with a wider area here. The ones that I was looking at, and the same ones, were 1/8 inch here, 1/8 inch, not even channel. They were 1/8 inch angle iron, 2x3. And this steel, I think, is stronger than that. The steel that they use is, it's almost like a cast type stuff. I don't know what the difference is. It's definitely not as strong. I know that. So it has those going across there, okay, and versus having 2x2 square tubing, I think is actually stronger than the channel that they use, especially when you're tying in every other one of those to this right here. And their span is wider because what they do is they have this section wider like this, okay, and then they have the frame that bends in and goes this way and then bends back out to the back. I was looking at them, how they do it. And they use C-channel on the sides, and they'll notch it and cut it and turn it in. You know, and the sides were 5-inch C-channel. Like this trailer, it's only 1 3/4. 5 inches. So they were using 5-inch C-channel. The place I looked at, 1/8 inch. So we'll have 8-inch square tubing that's a little thinner than what they have. It's not 1/8 inch for sure. It's probably, I think it's 14 gauge is what I'm guessing. You know, that's the closest thing I can figure. I can't get any place to measure it. But I'm going to stay with that same thickness. So I'm going to stay with 14 gauge here, the top piece, and then I'll have this rail here will be 12 gauge, the one that goes to the outside where you tie into, and then because it'll have thicker stuff welded to it. And if I tie it in enough places, I think it'll make it plenty strong. Okay, I might have to put, again, a couple of extra tie-ins on it or whatever. I mean, I do full 24 inches. I might go, you know, I might be like in the front, I might have a couple, might put an extra one in here, and I might put an extra one where I'll be tying in. I'll just kind of measure out, and where I'm going to be tying down all the time, I might put one extra bar in there to make it a little bit stronger. But I think that will be at least as strong as those axles will take. And I mean, every one that I looked at with those same axles had 1/8 inch C-channel frame, 5 inch, not 6 inch. This is 6 inch, and it's square tubing. And according to all the places I've looked, square tubing is stronger than C-channel. I mean, I looked at several different places, like trying to find out what it is, PSI and all that crap, just to see what it is. Maybe they were all incorrect, but the square tubing, not being this, if it was the same thickness, is definitely stronger than C-channel, the same thickness. Okay, so this is a little thinner, and we got twice the height, almost 2 times the 8 inches of versus 5. Okay, so almost twice the height, and thinner material. And the taller the material, right, the stronger it is longitudinally. Okay, if it's taller, it's going to be stronger lengthwise. So I think that's going to be way more than enough. But you know, again, it's not my expertise for what we're carrying. It's not because am I going to put anything on this trailer? No, I would not. Those were car holders that you could buy, that you're going to haul anything up to X amount of weight. Okay, you can put it anywhere on that thing. It's designed for that, right? This is going to be specifically designed for that truck to sit in the center, and for 2 potential rusty projects, or 2 Beetles, which is, I'm sure that this will be more than enough for that. 2 Beetles, or 2 buses that are pretty rusty and no engines, or something in that nature. Plus, in addition to that, so after I do all the welding, after I put all the frame in, I'll put all the metal in, which is not going to be a terrible amount. I'm going to put down 2x6 or 2x8. You guys can comment what you think on that. 2x6 or 2x8, 20 footers. So they'll be all the way, one continuous stick of wood, all the way from here, all the way to there. And that's going to give it the strength where the vehicle sits on here. And the tires are going to be about right here. Okay, so they're going to be right near this frame. And so when you add that wood right there, that's going to make it even stronger. That's going to make all these things tied in. Because what we're trying to do is replicate the original. The original was 7,500 pound trailer. This was a 7,500 pound frame. And the weight was carried evenly all over it, right? I'm going to say probably did the same thing. They probably had more weight over the axles. You know, they probably figured that out and had it that way. And they had a plywood and possibly a 2x4 floor that they engineer, they do all this stuff, but they're still not terribly big lumber. We're going to have 2x6, 2x8 span all the way long. You know, that's a lot more lumber than what they put on the. That's a lot more than a 5/8 piece of plywood with some 2x4s nailed to it. Okay, that's what they would have used on something like this. I've watched videos on them building these trailers, and that's what I could see that they do. They use a bunch of 2x4s, they lay them out on, and they use the 5/8 plywood, and they nail it all in. And you know, there's good plywood. They probably use this 8-10 ply or whatever, but you know, it's nothing like what we're going to have on this thing. And I still think our weight's not going to be that much. I mean, I'd be surprised if we beat 2,000 pounds, but I mean, it's possible. But there's no engine in this thing. You know, it's all just steel. So anyway, those are my thoughts. I think for sure it's going to work. I don't have any doubts on the strength. So if it's 24 inches, and then I've got these two doubled up, so almost every other one has that big I-beam piece underneath. So you add the strength of that welded to the 2x2, that cross brace strength, and then you have the wood going this way, that's going to be super strong. I don't see how that won't work. But anyway, share your thoughts on, well, we haven't done it yet. We still haven't got pieces to do it. I still, like I said, I'm still kicking around, and maybe change our mind. Your comments will help. I'll talk to you in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe.